Which of the following relations is a function? So what determines whether something is a function or not? Right, x's can't repeat. So do my x's repeat on 1?
Yes.
Yeah, all of them repeat. So this one's not a function. What about that second one?
Yes.
Yeah, the 2's repeat. Okay, what about on the third one? Nope, that one's good. What about the last one?
No.
Alright, that one's good too. Okay, so our answer would have been good. So we don't care about if y's repeat, only if our x's repeat, right? Okay. Alright, so then they give us this calculator trick. So what it's referring to, if you guys remember last week, when we talked about if I gave you some function, like if I gave you f of x is equal to 2x squared plus 3, and I asked you this, what did you do with that 2? Yeah, you just sucked it in, right? Okay, so here is a trick so that you don't have to solve every time, okay? So it says that we can go into our graphic calculator, press y equals, put in your rule or your function. So for example, this would be my function, and then press second graph to see the table. Now, we plugged this in for x, right? So I'm looking in the x column, okay? So let's give this a try on this set of examples down here. Okay, so number 1 wants to know f of -3, right? So I'm going to take f of x and follow these steps right here. So step 1 was to go in my graphing calculator and press y equals. And in y1, I need to type in the rule or the equation, right? What was the rule or the equation for f of x? Right, so that's what I'm going to type in. X squared plus 4x.
Alpha, and then you go to
Right here, beside alpha is the variable button.
Or is it alright? Is it okay if it's an odd? Or it doesn't matter what like.
Okay. Did you get it typed in? Okay. So we got x squared plus 4x. What's your question? Right here. X squared. Okay, so once we have that typed in, step 3 says to press second graph. So second graph, and it pulls up that table for us. Okay, what did they specifically ask for? What x value? -3. So I would look in my list for where x is -3. So I'm going to have to scroll up a little bit. When x is -3, what is y? -3. So there's my answer. Okay. All right. Then I look at number 2. Is number 2 going to be using the same function? No, because they said g, right? So I need to go back up here. And this time I'm going to type in this in my y1. So pull up my calculator, go to y equals, clear out that equation that's currently in there, and type in our g of x rule, which was what? Good. Alright, and then once I have that typed in, we just press second graph. Okay, and number 2 asks for g of what number? -5, so I'm going to scroll to where x is -5, and what is y when x is -5? 20. So there's my answer. Okay. All right. Number 3 wants 2 different values, right? So the first one they want is f of 1. So in my graphic calculator, I got to go back in there to y equals, clear that out, and put back in our rule for f. And our rule for f was x squared plus 4x, right? Okay, once I have that typed in, second graph, and there's my table. So they wanted f of what number? 1. So I just look at when x is 1, what's my y? 5. Okay, so f of 1 became 5. And I'm supposed to add that to g of 3. So I'm going to go back into my graphing calculator, change out my rule to g. And our g rule was 5 minus 3x. Second graph. And they wanted g of what number? 3. And when I look at 3, what's y? Negative 4. Okay. So I really have 5 plus negative 4. And what is 5 plus negative 4? So there's my answer for number 3. Okay? Same idea on number 4. So they want f of negative 2. I'm going to go back into y equals, clear that out, and put in my f rule. So our f rule was x squared plus 4x. Good. Pull up that table. And they wanted f of what? Negative 2. Okay, so when x is negative 2, what's y? Negative 4. Good. So underneath here, I'm going to rewrite that it becomes negative 4. And then it's going to be minus g. So I've got to go back in, change my rule out to g, which was 5 minus 3x. Yes, and then we're going to pull up our table. So when it is 4, it is, yes, negative 7. Okay, so I got to be careful here. It's minus negative 7. 2 negatives in a row make a positive. So this is really negative 4 plus 7, which would be 3. So be careful with our signs there. All right, last one. We've got 2g of negative 2 plus 3f of 2. Okay, so we're going to start inside first. What is the innermost function? Right, we got to find these two things so that we can plug them in, okay? So g of negative 2, well, I've already got my rule of g in there, so let's go ahead and look at that one. So what is g of negative 2? 11, good. So I would have 2 bracket 11 plus 3. And now I got to find f of 2. So go back in there, y equals, put in your f rule. So x squared plus 4x. Uh-huh.
Can you just go down to the y squared here? Like, leave the
You could, yes. But then you risk getting confused on which one you're looking at. And if it's the only one in there, you know for sure which one. Yes. Because it should list your y2 and y1 up to the side. Mm-hmm. And then pull up that table. You said that, but there it goes. Okay. And what is f of 2? 12. Okay. Alright, and that's all inside of a bracket, right? Okay. Oh, sorry. This was in a bracket, and then that was in its own bracket, right? Okay. So, we've got 2 times 11, right? Okay, and what is 2 times 11? 22. Plus 3 times 12. And then we just add those two together and we get 58. Very good. Okay. Make sure whenever they give you ones like these, we follow order of operations. We have to multiply before we can add, right? So you have to multiply both pieces before you add the two. Okay? All right. Here at the bottom it says, for the function f, f of 8 is equal to negative 3. F of negative 3 is equal to 8. If y is f of x, what is the value when x is equal to negative 3? So let's think about that for a second. if I broke down that information they just gave me and I made a little table, x is here, y is here, and y and f of x mean the same thing, right? Okay, so first they gave me 8 was equal to negative 3. Well, is the 8 or the negative 3 my x? 8, good. So 8 goes with negative 3, which means on this one, my x value is negative 3, while the y value is 8. Okay, they said, what is y when x is negative 3? Well, what is y when x is negative 3? 8, right? They just asked it in a confusing way. So y would be equal to 8. All right. All right. On the back, I've got a couple of review questions. First, they want us to list all of the coordinate points. Okay, so let's start with the one farthest left. Where is this point right here? Negative 3 what? I think it's 4. Okay. All right, where would this point be? This one right here? Negative 3. Negative 2, negative 5. All right. Then where is this point? Right here. No, not 7, 0.
0, 7.
0, 7. Okay, where is this point right here? 2, 0, good. Alright, what about this one? Good. And this one? 4, negative 6. Alright, and then last one, this one over here. Okay, so now that we have all of our points listed, they then ask for the domain. What letter is domain? X's. Okay, so I list all of my x values. Okay, so what was our first x value? Good. And then negative 2. Before that we also had 2, right? And then yes, we do have 4. And then I had another 4, but do I list it again? No. And then 9. Good. Okay. Alright, and if domain is x's, that means range is our y's. So same idea, we're going to list all the y's now. So what was our first y? 4, and then, yep, yep. Very good. Okay. And they ask, is this a function or not? No. Why not? We had an x value that repeated. So the x value of 4 repeats. Very good. Okay. All right, so then they ask a couple questions. We don't have a rule this time, so we can't use what we used on the front page, but we have specific coordinate points, right? So this says f of 2, that means when x is 2. So I'm going to come up here and look for the coordinate point that had an x value of 2. Right. When x was 2, y was 0. So my answer must be 0. Okay? F of negative 3. Go look for the coordinate point when x was negative 3. 4. Alright, this one is asking the opposite, right? They said you got 7, so what should your x have been? So what x value gave us a y value of 7? 0, right? If I go look up here, when x was 0, y was 7. Alright? Okay, and then when y was -6, what was x? 4. Okay, so remember, if it's written like this, they're asking you for y. So this means what's y. Alright, last one. They want us to write the domain and the range. So again, you guys told me domain is my x values. Okay, so is this thing ever going to stop going to the right? The right?
Yes.
Yeah, where does it stop? 8, right? This is at 8. An x value of 8 for the y. Okay, so I'm only worried about x's right now. So the furthest it goes to the right is 8. Is it ever going to stop going to the left?
No.
No. It's going to go to the left forever. As I move to the left, the numbers get bigger or smaller? Smaller. So I want to say that x is less than 8. Okay. Do I need the equal sign?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Range. Is this thing going to go up forever?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it going to go down forever? No. What's the lowest it goes? -2. So if I'm going up from -2, are we getting bigger or smaller? Bigger. So how would I write that? Y is very good.